John, international selection at 12?
Yeah. There's a concern about Evia, how much he's played. He played every Super Rugby game, every one of these games except for the first game against the Cheetahs. And, he's got a couple of niggles, and we felt the Sharks could present a very physical threat. And Ruan Nell's a very competitive, physical beast. Played very, very well at 12 in the Supersport Championship. And we also felt, as part of our strategy, we wanted to give Hugh Jones a bit more space to attack. So there was another reason for the move.
And this game, obviously, you guys very much in it, probably in the semi-final, although the Bulls have demonstrated the capability to score over 60 points, I guess. So one should be careful. But how do you... Are the nerves fraying a bit ahead of this game? Or?
Yeah, let's say the truth is yes. I agree, not so much about the semi-final, just that we put ourselves in this position. Because it's just very hell of a frustrating after last week, where we should have really had a home semi by now. I've got no doubt that we're up for this game. Looking forward to it, but we're going to have to go. We can't go and rely on those crazy results. It's completely within our hands. Even 1 point. So yeah, we're going to go up there to play. I always said that we win 2 of the 3. I would prefer it to have been the first 2.
And obviously another away game and a big one this time. What do you guys think? Have you identified, is it like the pressure factor, or what seems to be wrong with these away games?
Well, it's not so much. I know the away results have been dreadful. Other than the first game, we went up there with very much a hybrid team, as we called it at the time. Every game that we've lost, we've at some stage been leading by 10 or more points. And I don't see it as a conditioning thing. It just seems to be sometimes we've lacked the sort of killer instinct to finish. Last week we were leading up until the 73rd minute. You saw what happened to the Bulls. We were up 13 points 3 times and then ended up having to score in the last minute. So there is a concern about away games. If it's got something to do with altitude, this is the first away game at sea level, so hopefully we haven't got that excuse. But last week we didn't get tired. There's something else, and I think there's a desperation to correct the wrongs of last week, which I think will see us through that crisis this week, I hope.
Yeah, talking about desperation, obviously the Sharks, they were really qualified. I won't say they're complacent. If you look at the side that they selected, they're probably the strongest possible side. But still, that could play a factor that they've gone through.
Well, yeah, I think you're right, and I think we must be more desperate than them. If you just look at our position compared to theirs, I think that's logical. But I know Rob Dupree, and as you say, he's a very competitive player. They're taking note. There's nobody they put on ice. So you may think semi-final next week you might put a Kerwin or something on ice, but they haven't done it. So I know they're coming for us. But I do agree. One thing we've got in our favour is real desperation.
It must be nice to have Walker back for especially a big set-piece team like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been even more nervous if he wasn't around. He's and I thought he was outstanding for the Springboks last week. So the conversation with Walker is an easy one. You're now an international prop. You've got to show the class there. I think him versus Thomas du Toit is going to be a good battle. But Walker described it as the greatest day of his life, and you can just feel there's a whole lot more confidence and swagger about him now. So he's, I'm excited to see that. Yeah.
It's quite an interesting call to continue with Damien, and you've got Dylan on the wing.
Yeah, that was probably the major. That and what Nani asked about. That and the 12 were the major debates in the week. We know the Sharks are a very, very territory-based team. Very good kicking game, and we felt to have 2 fullbacks at the back there in a sense was a good thing. Also, if we I thought Rob did well with the territory last week in Joburg, and we felt for the team to take. For a Damien or Rob to miss out wouldn't have been the right thing at this stage. And Leggett can help, or Dylan can help a lot with the territory and kicking game. Look, Dylan's a fullback and he must return there. Yeah. But for this game, horses for course, and also we've had a good look at the conditions. The field's going to be very heavy, maybe a little rain and a howling wind. So the more sort of guys who are comfortable with the kicking game in those conditions, the better. And so that's to have Damien, Leggett, and Rob on the field is probably the best thing for us.
It's an interesting selection with Rob. I mean, it's quite well known that there are rumours that he might play for the Sharks in the future.
Rumours?
Well, report. And he has got quite a good record against his dad.
No, he's got a good record against his dad, but he's I think it actually lines a bit for us because he's trying to play for a place there next year. So so I'm excited to see. But he was very good last week. Obviously, Damien's the future, but we've got ourselves. It's really frustrating. We're talking about it before. We've got ourselves into a position where we have to play match for match, horses for courses. You know what I mean? So, and we've had a good look at the conditions. So that's why we've gone for Rob. It might not be the same next week. It's been lovely this week to have already had the home semi and given some guys like Michael Hasner or a lot of guys a run. Put Damien back at 10 or whatever we wanted to do, but we're not in that position anymore. Our backs are against the wall.
Well, the bench, if you look at the Sharks bench, they've got a guy like Rob brother.
Jean-Luc's on the bench, yeah.
On the bench and Dan's on the 8. So they obviously have that impact as well. The two guys are very good, not sure. So that's going to be interesting how to use the bench as well.
Yeah, well, listen, we know this is going to be extremely physical clash. They're the most physical team, most direct team in the whole of the Currie Cup. And when we played them at Newlands, we lost by that single point. They didn't have the two Dupree brothers. So our emphasis this week has been on our physicality, and that's why we need to have guys like Caleb and Jan and Ramon bring real physical intensity onto the field. Not to bring something else, which is great, but.
And is it a option to try and squeeze like an 80 minutes out of a Wilco?
Yeah, I think that would be the plan there. He's a big diesel engine that. Just keep chugging on there.
Chris, what are the things you can take out from your last game against the Sharks in terms of specifically?
If I remember correctly, I think the biggest thing we learned about that game was just general game management, and I think we lost the territory battle quite badly that day. I remember specifically, in fact, after that game, we had quite a lot of. I think we have learned quite a lot from that specific game here at Newlands, because the one thing that was poor that day was our general game management. In other words, playing too much in our own half, and then also our kicking game lacked a bit there, and they dominated us territorial, and that's what we've definitely learned from that.
Because having said that, it's easy if you look at the conditions and what is happening. I don't know what's going to look like on Saturday, but for example, you might go in there with a mindset that you have to play for territory, but the team's strong point, I don't know what the strategy is, but the strong point, if you look at the personnel, you've got guys like Damien, Steppers. How important is to keep that balance, because you could go in there and say, listen, you want to kick for corners, and maybe the player, you could easily score a try from.
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of now trying to play not towards our DNA, because that's exactly what you're saying. That's our strong point. I just think it's been clever where we play like that, and maybe not trying to force the odd thing. I think that's got a lot to do with that general game management and making sure when we play that expansive game that it's in the right areas.
We've got no problem keeping the ball in our half to strike, because you say we can score a try from anywhere. Yeah. I don't want them to have the ball in our half, because then they're very direct. You know what I mean? So that's where we probably weren't very clever last time. That we were trying to exit and gave them the ball in our half, and that's the challenge.